Bang! Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and today we are checking out some case knives. I have not had any case knives on the channel in quite a while, so it's awesome to see, what they're up to. Now, the first one we have, I actually already have it out. Oops. This is number 14095, and I put it in this sheath. It did not come with this sheath. This is a custom-made sheath. Now, the knife has a beautiful Wharncliffe blade. Love this blade shape. The handle and the blade definitely complement each other very well. Now, I'm traditionally not the biggest fan of backlocks, especially two-hand opening backlocks. I prefer a one-hand opening backlock, one where I can push it and drop the blade down, and push it with my finger. I would prefer that if I'm gonna have a backlock. But I know there's a lot of guys, and I grew up with backlocks. There's definitely a place in my heart for them, and I do enjoy them from time to time. And I know a lot of other people really enjoy them, just like slip joints and whatnot. So, that being said, just because it's not something that I traditionally carry doesn't mean I don't. It's kind of like slip joints. I've recently, the past couple of years, gotten really into slip joints. I love carrying, hence why I have custom slips, because, I'll carry slip joints alongside of my, my primary knife. Now, this has a carbon steel, so it's a simple steel, so it should be very easy for people to sharpen for the most part. The bone handle is done very well, and then we have the bolsters and pommel, then a brass liners, I should say, with brass pins. The backlock, has a nice strong tension to it. You can push it relatively easily. It does have a good amount of tension, so you can hear the snap, but I can't push it and push the blade forward at the same time, which would be another way you could do it one-handed. I can't seem to do it, but traditionally pulling it out two-handed, locking it open, there's nothing wrong with that. Just a little bit slower. I love the profile of it, though. I love how slim it is. These ergos are something that really, the whole profile of this really speaks to me. I love this little divot right there, a little spot for, you not to slip up the blade. It has a very, very smooth texture in the hand, good size, great for pinch grips. A Wharncliffe blade is one of the most useful blade shapes for EDC. Yes, this thing does get fingerprinty pretty damn good, but nothing wrong with that either. Just the way it is, somewhat of a mirror finish on the blade. Now my negatives, I only really have one real negative. By the way, these are all made in the USA with domestic and imported materials. But I love that it's made in the USA. I like the case with the USA flag shield. My negative, my one negative, because I don't have many, my one negative is the edge it's not sharp. It has a burr still attached to it, and it's very obvious to me. It just is what it is. So whoever's sharpening these is not doing the best job with their burr removal. Now, I'm not saying they should, have buffed the edge or anything like that, but it just did not have a good burr removal. So hopefully that doesn't mean that the steel is super soft, which it possibly is. Case is, I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying anything negative. They've been making knives for a very long time, and they use a lot of old steels that we don't really see on modern knives. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that those steels should not be used. I'm not saying that, and I think that it's fine that they are using it. But, in 2025, we have some incredible steels. We know more about heat treatment than ever before, and about sharpening and just everything. So, when you run softer steels, they tend to be more problematic with burr removal. And it also probably just has to do with the heat treatment and everything. But let's get to the next one. But these, these types of knives, it's not something that you're, trying to cut 10,000 feet of cardboard with. Next is The number 20030 with the yellow yellow bone smooth trapper. We have a traditional clip point blade here with a hollow. Ooh, I like that. Oh, that's a deep hollow too. Very thin mirror polished blade. Beautiful. Beautiful finish. Mirror polished finish. And we have the yellow bone and these beautifully polished bolsters, brass liners once again. Let me pull this other blade out really quick. We have a spay point here. Is this one a hollow? Yep, that one's a deep hollow too. So we have two deep hollow blades, a clip point and a spay point. Spay points are good for things where you don't want the tip to puncture into what you're cutting, where you basically just want to use this belly to, you know, to open something up. And then you have a nice long straight edge there if you needed to slice something, cut down on a flat surface and so on. You know, and a clip point, you know, is a very versatile blade shape. It can be used for many, many things. You can do utility cuts. You can use the tip, yet it does have belly to cut down a flat surface. I love how long and slim these blades are. For me, like, you know, this narrow of a blade needs to have really thin slicey geometry, and boy does it. So this is really cool. Now, negatives. My one negative is I wish the sharpening notch was in this, kind of like the last one, the Warncliffe. It had a nice little sharpening notch. This one too could you know, use it. It actually is a little bit. Maybe this one does too slightly. But, you know, I think the first time you sharpen it, you're going to sharpen all the way back to that plunge. Not that big of a deal. Definitely not a deal breaker with these. It's something that's very traditional with them. All in all, you know, it feels really good in the hand. It feels like decent quality. You know, I got a little play side to side, but nothing that I would really complain about, you know, considering the type of knife it is, a pin construction and so on. And the other one, the Warncliffe with the backlock, that one was solid. So yeah, very cool. Let's check out the next one. So the next one, and we do have a modern one coming up, guys, don't worry. So this is a good time to use this little blade. Slip that sucker in, just go like that. Okay, this one has a wood handle, and this one is the 66381, the Buster Junior. Yeah, all right, so the Buster Junior. Oh, I like that nail nick, or whatever you want to call it, the hole in the blade that acts as the nail nick. This one is a slip joint, but does not have a half stop. Very similar to the action you're going to get on one of these, where it's just smooth all the way to the, I don't want to say lock, but lock out, you know, where it's open. You know, obviously it's not locked. You can just push it, but that little snap you get. Now, this one is not using a carbon steel. This one is using S35VN. I wish they would have put it on the knife, but I do see it on the box right there, S35VN, which is pretty cool. And you can see January 20th, 2025. So this is brand new. And yeah, man, it's a pretty cool one. Like I said, it's just a traditional drop point blade with a full flat grind. It's almost a straight back. So this is going to be really good for cutting on a flat surface because you have this belly right there. Not going to be the best for utility cuts, but you can obviously use it for that. And again, you know, the edges, just like even the last one. Let me feel this one again. Yeah, same thing. There's burr left on these edges. Now, those being carbon steels, this being S35VN, I will say this one's a little bit better, but it also looks like it has maybe possibly a lower angle. I'm not sure because the thickness will determine the edge bevel size, but it's definitely got some burr still left right in here. And it's very easy to feel. So that'd be, you know, my biggest negative. Other than that, you know, I don't really have too much. I do like to see them using hardware where it can be taken apart, cleaned and maintained, which is always good, especially for somebody like me who likes to maintain their knives. Now, let's get to this guy. So this one is more of a modern folder. We still have one more to go, by the way. So let's open that sucker up. beautiful drop point blade, an S35 VN. We have a flat ground blade, thicker geometry, very, very comfortable ergonomics, good access to that lock bar, and the detent is not in the way. So if I remember correctly, the original one that I had tried, the detent was in the way. When you drop right there, it would get it would play around on the detent right there. In the knife community, we call it double clutch, where your detent, it does still have a late detent, as you can see. I like to see a detent like right there so that I can hold high up on the lock bar and get to it. What I think they did was put a ramp in. I'm not positive, or maybe not. I'm not, no ramp, it hits the corner. But I will say I can easily get past it, and that's what matters to me. But if I do hold up high, it will, oh, it didn't there. Yeah, it can hit the, you know, you can double clutch, but it's easy to get past. So I'm very happy with that. I can't remember if it was this one or another one that had that issue that I had that issue that I was having problems with. Anyways, the handle is an aluminum frame lock with a steel lock bar insert. Now, there's some companies doing that, but there's not a ton, you know, so that's, you know, pretty interesting, you know, and aluminum is going to be plenty strong for something like this, you know, and when you're holding it, you're increasing the lock strength. I love that they did good access to the lock bar. I like seeing how thick the lock bar is, nice and robust. Not saying if it was thin that it would be bad. Very, very grippy G10. I feel like I could file my nail on that G10. Deep carry clip that is reversible, not in set, and it has some big old button screws on it, which was always my complaint about this. Why not put flat screws? Why not, right? Like, why make it to where now my pants are going to hang up trying to get it all? It's a deep carry pocket clip. The point of a deep carry clip is to get it deep in the pocket. With my thick jeans, I definitely would grind on that. Centering is very off. Very, very off. I can't even push it to stay over. Wow. No play. No fingers on the lock bar. No play up and down. But yeah, that centering is off. Let's see if it's the blade. I don't know. I don't know if the blade's got a little flex or if it's just the tolerances. I'm not sure. T8 hardware. It looks like T8. It could be T10, which I love to see. Love to see large hardware always. I can see an over travel stop hooked to the steel lock bar insert. The detent is great. Phenomenal detent, which I'm happy to see considering, you know, they're known for doing their traditional knives. It's nice to see good action on a case. I can definitely tell it's riding on bearings. It's probably steel bearings, seeing that the detent ball is steel, which I'd prefer it to be ceramic. Ceramic just, you know, it's smoother. There's a bunch of reasons why. I don't think I need to get into it. But anyways, the Marilla, very cool. My negatives. Let's talk about the negatives. Let's check. Ooh, the edge again. Burr all over it, man. Let me cut a piece of paper. Maybe I can show you guys. So we'll start with this one. Hear how like toothy it is? It's not that it won't cut, but it's just, let's try this one now. This one might have been the worst one. Yeah, see how it's like hanging up? I'll grab a different one. It's like catching, you can see the fibers in the paper. It's not a clean cut. Like, I've been using the heck out of this one. This one's got gunk all over, but hear how smooth that is? And this one's been being used like crazy. Here's one that, now I'm not expecting it to be this sharp. My point is just how straight the cut is without having fibers all over the place because of burr. The burr is obviously snagging the paper, and it's just, see how it's like jumping? The paper jump. So it's just, it's got burr left on it. you know. And while you can still cut paper, even if you have a burr on your edge, which, you know, we've proven many times in knife videos, that even edges that are not very sharp can cut paper. The paper cutting is not the impressive part. It's how clean the cut is and whether or not it is clean, how effortless it goes through. Can you do swirls and stuff? Because a perfect apex can. Even at a high edge angle, a perfect apex can do swirls through paper as long as that burr's removed well. But so that's one negative. Next thing is choil. I'd like to see the choil just a little bit deeper so that, you know, when I sharpen, the first sharpening won't hit the plunge line, but probably by the third one it'll start, you know, just depending on your edge angle. If I lower, this has thick geometry, so if I put back a lower edge angle, it's definitely going to be a bigger bevel. Next thing, and this is not a negative, but this is very grippy, so you do have to be prepared for that. I'm guessing in and out of the pocket it could, you know, jump, you know, and kind of catch on. Let me just try it. Ooh, yep. See, my pants didn't even go all the way in my pocket. Yeah, I can't get it all the way in my pocket, and I'm not even wearing my thick jeans. Why? Like, that's a horrible thing. This is my biggest complaint, is these screws. This doesn't make sense to me. I probably have to go like this to make it wider right there, so that I can get it all the way in the pocket. Detent is a little late, but, you know, like I said, I'm fine with that. Centering is off really bad. So those would be my negatives. It just is what it is. You know, Case, while they are trying to do modern knives, and I appreciate that, and I want to continue to see that, and I know a lot of people love their knives. I know a lot of people love that particular model I just showed. I think it's awesome if they are continuing to try to improve and become more modern in some cases. I'm not saying stop doing all their traditional stuff. Of course not. Keep doing that. That's what works for you. That's what you're good at. But it's not a bad thing to be able to do both. You know, to be able to do modern knives that have the little details that we expect in a modern pocket knife, because there's just little things that are just kind of unacceptable, like the screws right there. It's unacceptable. I can't even put it all the way in my pocket. I'm wearing regular Levi jeans right now, so it's not like I'm wearing my thick pocket jeans. So, you know, the jimping right here, it doesn't even make sense because it's not functional jimping. It doesn't really need jimping right there, so I'm not bitching that the jimping, you know, should have jimping. I'm just saying the jimping's not functional, which is not that big of a deal. Detent being late, that's something we hate in the knife community. Like, because you fumble trying to close your knife, we want to be able to just easily drop it and drop, especially on bearings, right? That's kind of the point. See how it jumped right there and jumped back to lock. Things like that, you know, plunge grind and sharpening choil, you know, access to the lock bar, which they did a killer job with. I don't want to make it sound like they didn't, but I hope to see them continue to strive for greatness. And you know, at any time, and I always say this, I try to say this to companies that are in the USA, if they ever want, you know, I'm not gonna say advice, because I don't want to make it seem like, you know, I'm better in any way. But if they ever want me to check out a knife and give my feedback before it goes into production or while it's still in prototype phase, and what I think could be better or whatever, which I'm gonna have the same opinion as a lot of people in the knife community. Let's just be clear. I will have the exact same opinion. So the things I'm thinking, they will too, for the most part. I'm happy to do that. Next is a fixed blade. And this one is number 76936, black carbon fiber weave CT2 Hunter in S35. So let's check out this beautiful drop point blade. I love the swedge on it. Carbon fiber is real carbon fiber, which is cool. Love to see the side cut section. This is like my favorite type of carbon fiber, when you got that big wavy weave carbon or wavy weave fibers running down the knife. I love that. I love it when it's on the face right here. I'm surprised they left this polished. I think it would have been really cool if they would have just did the same thing right here on top of here, and just, you know, because this is like, it comes in a sheet. right? It comes in a sheet, and this is the top of the sheet. The top of the sheet's been basically polished. Then, you know, when they cut into it, you get this, right? Because it's not polished anymore because they cut into it. Now, a lot of carbon fiber, typically you will see them just shave this entire layer off. It just makes it look cleaner. Even, you know, though it's not polished, it looks cleaner because it's all blended the same. This stuff, while this is obviously real carbon fiber, there's a lot of fake stuff that are trying to replicate this finish, but what they can't replicate is this. They can replicate this, but they can't replicate this. So that's why some companies, when they want to prove, so you know for a fact that they're using real carbon fiber, they don't leave this layer on there, because like the shiny part makes it look like it's the fake stuff. I'm just saying, I'm not like trying to nitpick it or anything. It's just fine. Like I said, S35VM, you can see the machine lines on the steel, and then they stone washed. It looks like they etched and stone washed it. Very nice. Again, we have a very, very toothy edge with a burr still on it. Let's give this one a go. Oh, this one doesn't feel as bad as the other ones, but it definitely has it though. I mean, like, we've seen that. Here, pay attention to this cut, and we're going to do it again. Let's try this. Okay. We'll start with this. I can see the burr scratching it. See that? Those little lines, that's the burr. And I am hitting the angle just fine. It's very easy to do. Me, that was the tip right there. That was my fault. But as far as the other parts, when it's like that, yeah, I can feel it coming off a lot more. It's still not perfect. It still needs to be, there's still a burr hanging on, but definitely better. But now, this is so gentle, I'm not going to put any pressure because I'm just trying to knock the burr off. I don't want to mess with the serrations or anything, or the microscopic serrations. I want to just gently remove the burr, which is very easy to do with something like this because it is so incredibly hard. But what I don't want to do is micro bevel. All right. Same piece of paper too. Much cleaner. I should have tried to do the zigzag beforehand. Let's compare to this guy. See how we can't do swirls with this one. It's just not, it's too rough. Hear how rough that is? See how it's catching? So we cannot do swirls with that, but now with this one, now we can. So it's just much cleaner. Not a big deal. You know, it took me what 60 seconds, you know, to do that. So I'm not saying that it's a big deal. Not everybody can sharpen as well as I can. I do notice that the tip, I can't tell if it's popped off or not that big of a deal, but looks like it's like missing the very apex of the tip. Not a big deal though. The grind, you know, it's actually slicier, I think, than this guy. Yes, it is. What's crazy about that, this is a fixed blade. Very comfortable, by the way. It almost feels like a MARILLA fixed blade. Maybe it's supposed to be. Very comfortable. I do like that nice thickness to it. Nice length. I'm not always a fan of the, you know, where it tear drops down or whatever, but this one's thick enough where it feels good in the hand. But this is much slicier than this one. This is quite a bit more robust. Not in just not blade stock thickness, but in just the taper. So this, you know, being a fixed blade, you'd think it'd be the opposite way. You know, make the folder super slicey. You know, obviously they were going for a little bit more tougher use, but wrong way. The sheath, Sheath okay. It's pretty good sheath. You know, no complaints really. It's a leather sheath. Hangs on pretty well. It is formed around there, which does feel pretty good. It definitely good retention. So yeah, pretty damn cool. Good sharpening tool and plunger. I love the way they did this sharpening, not just the way I'd like to see all of them. I'd love to have seen it like that on this one. So good job there. This is pretty well done. I hate making it seem like I'm like tearing these guys apart or something, which I'm not. I'm just being critical over the work because it's 2025 and we see in the best work we've ever seen. The best work we've ever seen is today, right? And that goes for a lot of most companies. Most companies that are highly regarded in the knife community are doing an exceptional job. They are doing the little details that are important, you know, especially when you're charging a certain amount of money. You know, these are things you expect. You know, once you go over a certain price range, that's where it's like, okay, well, this is a premium knife. But is it? Like, you know, and I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying, like, that's the question that you come to, or the conclusion you come to. Is this actually worth the money I'm spending? You know, is the little details there, right? I love Case. I think Case is awesome. I always want to see them do great. But, you know, there are some improvements that I would love to see. Then maybe this isn't the batch that I should have been looking at. They did send these, by the way. So shout out to Case for sending these along. And yeah, my favorite one out of all of them is probably this backlock. I love this Warncliffe, man. This thing is really cool. And then second, I'm struggling between these two. If this didn't have these button screws, this would be my favorite. But definitely this one's my favorite, and then this one would be next. I like that this one has S35 VN steel, and I love that this one has modern action, which is really good action. And then probably the fixed blade. And then the other two. I love the finish on these. You know, I think they are very well done. And me, you know, this is a really cool one too, by the way. They're all really cool. It's just, you know, there's they are traditional knives. So you got to expect traditional when you're getting traditional knives, but when you start talking about modern knives, that's when you want to see modern. Anyways, there you guys go. Yeah, work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.